Right, to start the session, can I kindly request everyone to say sadhu, please? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yatanuko bhante na jayati, na jiyati, na miyati, na chavati, na uppajjati. Sakkanuko so bhante gamane na lokasa anto nyatum va dattum va papunitum va ti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear Dhamma friends, we took this verse even yesterday and tried to relate this question to what we are doing here. And if I just give you a brief summary of what we discussed yesterday, I have extracted this particular verse from a sutta called Rohitasa Sutta. And in that sutta, this Rohitasa was a divine being who has had so much of psychic powers, and he has been traveling in the world in few aeons ago to see whether there is a place where you can go and dwell, where there is no aging, where there is no decaying, where there is no death. That is what we all are looking for, a place where there is no death. That is the biggest question that all of us are having. All of us are someday going to kick the bucket. Right? So we just hide that and just keep living as if we are not dying. Right? But if you really turn back and see, all what we do, especially in the medical field, is to extend death only. And in other words, this particular person has been looking for this question, or looking for this even so many years ago, and all the animals are doing it. Right? So we understood that this as a way of seeking happiness. When there is no death, you will have the ultimate happiness. Right? So this is how they have been looking for that. And once he met Buddha, he said, he asked this question, and Buddha said, there is no place in the universe, in the cosmos. If you go and try to find a place, hard luck. And then he gave a very confusing answer. He said, but at the same time, I tell you that there is no making an end of suffering, which means aging and all sorts of things, without reaching the end of the cosmos. Initially, he says, by traveling in the cosmos, you can't end suffering. Now he is saying, without traveling also you can't. Then the divine being gets very confused whether the Lord Buddha is in right senses he may have felt. Then he is asking, what are you talking? Then Lord Buddha says, your fathom long body is the cosmos. Right? So yesterday we said, we discussed, this is why we observe our walking. This is why we observe our sitting. While observing walking, we take our attention to the lower part of the body. While observing the breathing, sitting, we take the attention to the upper part of the body. So what happens is, in that manner, we will be covering the whole body. We will be gradually entering into the cosmos that the Blessed One is talking here. Right? So to do that, to enter to the cosmos, to enter into our body, one may feel, why should we bring the attention to our body? Because we have a body, and all of us may feel that we have the attention to the body. But in fact, you know, when you read the reports, a few minutes ago we discussed the reports. In how many reports didn't you have distractions? All the reports, there were distractions. The reason is that our mind is not with the body. Our mind is somewhere else, either in some other time or in some other place. So therefore, although we have a body, although we have a mind, these two things are not together. So therefore, we are carrying a cosmos. We are not making use of it. We never travel that. We never see what's happening there. So Buddha is giving a way to do that. Bring your attention to the lower part of the body and upper part of the body. And just be silent. Just be quiet. Just keep observing that. And when you keep observing that, gradually the mind that is wandering all over the other places, all over other times, will gradually come to your body. And last time, or rather yesterday, we discussed when that happens, there are a lot of advantages, like you get the real experience when you're with the body, when the mind and body is together, you get the real experience. You come out of the dreaming world. Otherwise, your physical body is here, mentality is somewhere else, so you are in a dream. But when these two things are together, you start experiencing, and that is why you are writing. I feel that texture, this texture, that sensation, this sensation, and these things are happening. That is because now you know what's going on. And when you can go deeper in that. When you go deeper in that, you get deeper, more experiences and deep experiences. And also, yesterday we discussed, because we bring our physical process and mental process together, you conserve your energy. It is not necessary. When the mental process is somewhere else and the physical process is here, when you do something, you will have to keep grabbing the attention. But when the attention is with you naturally, you conserve your energy, and moreover, you generate energy yourself. So as a result, your efficiency goes through the roof. And a lot of people are practicing mindfulness, especially in the business world, for that reason. But we are not doing for that. Buddha is not saying to do that. Buddha is asking you to do that. Be mindful, because you can travel through the cosmos and end the suffering. So these are things that we discussed yesterday. And in that process, we discussed that there will have a purification, that because you see yourself, you start seeing the bad things that you do. You start seeing the inefficient things that you do. There were some reports where they had written, I feel sleepy, I feel lethargic, I feel agitated, because you start observing your own emotions, your own negative emotions, right? So when you see that, if you simply observe, they will not develop, they will not amplify, they will not exponentially increase. Otherwise, what we do is, when we have such a negativity, we keep on fighting with that, and that becomes Incredible Hulk. That's the exact theory on which the Incredible Hulk is built. It is being fed by negative energies. So if you want to become Incredible Hulks, you can have negative energies and you can do all sorts of things, but it ruin yourself end of the day. So, and the best part is, such an innocent guy, all of us are, become, go into extremes that we have never thought of because of those negative energies. But if you keep observing, they will not improve like that. So it gradually purifies us. And also we discussed yesterday that this is a universal solution to a universal problem. We all are looking for happiness. We all are looking for ending aging, ending sickness, ending death. So it's a universal problem. It's not a problem that is for Buddhists or human beings. It's applicable for all the beings, right? So there is a way to do that, a universal solution. And the medication that is given for universal solution is also universal. Everyone is breathing. Everyone is sitting. You just observe that. No need to be a Buddhist. No need to be a Sri Lankan. No need to be sitting. In any way, you can observe your breath. And similarly, walking. It is not based on religion. It is not based on race. It is not based on anything. So you can just observe your walking. So therefore, the remedy is also universal. And those are the things that we discuss. So when we practice mindfulness in this manner, it becomes a way of life. Awareness becomes part of your character, right? So when it becomes part of your character, or let me put it this way, to make it more part of you, the Blessed One is taking this bit more further. We are discussing mindfulness, and he says when you discuss when you practice mindfulness, you will have to keep the mindfulness to the fore. What do you mean by keeping the mindfulness to the fore? To keep the mindfulness in the driving seat. Keep the mindfulness as your mentor, as your leader, as your tour guide, right? So it will be leading you. Unless you keep the mindfulness in the driving seat, halfway through you will drop mindfulness somewhere. The reason why I am saying this is because mindfulness has been used even before Buddha. There have been ascetics, there have been meditators, there have been practitioners, and they have used mindfulness even, they have been using mindfulness as well. And you know, one of the four things that the Blessed One saw before renunciation was the recluse. He saw a sick person, an old person, and a dead body. And then he saw a recluse, right? So which means there have been monks-like people living even before becoming, before the Blessed One, or not the Blessed One, the Prince Siddhartha renunciated. So they have been practicing. So when they were practicing, what did they practice? They also practiced mindfulness. They observed their breath. They observed their walking. They did all sorts of other types of meditation. So by doing that, they practiced mindfulness. So, but they were not able to end suffering because they were not able to, or they did not keep it to the fore. Why do I say that they did not keep it to the fore? When you become mindful, what happens is you gradually come out of your sensual world. When you come out of the sensual world, initially it is hard. But over time, if you are able to bring your attention to your breath or your walking, you will come out of the sensual faculties, and therefore all the troubles that you will have from the sensual faculties will vanish. When those troubles are gone and when your attention is with your body, you feel so elated. You feel so happy. You feel very comfortable in your body. You feel very serene. So when you go to that serenity, you forget mindfulness and you get obsessed with the serenity that you gain by coming out of the sensual world. So if you don't keep the mindfulness to the fore, you will be dwelling in that serenity. You will be dwelling in that rapture. You will be dwelling in that happiness. So once you get stuck there, and you become obsessed with it, and you forget mindfulness. And the blessed one practiced those techniques before being Buddha. And after practicing, he attained the highest level possible. He attained the 8th absorption. And once he attained the 8th absorption, his teacher said, before being Buddha, his teacher said, I have 500 students. You take 250, I will take 250. We will keep doing this business. Buddha said, no, this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the truth. I'm in search of the truth. He saw, even at that stage, to maintain that rapture, he will have to suffer in a very subtle way. And Loku Hamuduru was explaining, in order to give up something, you will have to give up the gross thing and hold a subtle thing. And you keep on holding something. So if you get bogged down in one place, if you start dwelling in one place, then what you are holding will keep giving you suffering. So therefore, the Blessed One said, you keep giving up gradually, and at the same time, keep observing. And that is what we are doing. In mindfulness, we simply keep observing. So when the Blessed One came to that very subtle, rapturous situation, he realized that there is suffering even at that stage. He said, no, this is not the truth I'm looking for. And then he found himself, it's the same thing. It's the same pack of cards. But his trump was different. He was not trying to hold on to anything, but he was simply observing. After practicing, his advice to the world was keep the mindfulness to the fore. And before saying keep the mindfulness to the fore, he said, this is the one and only way for the purification of beings. So it's a very bold statement. Very bold statement. He says not just one way, it is the one and only way. One way means it goes in one direction. And it is not only just one direction, it is the only way. For what? For the purification of being. For reaching happiness. And see the word he is using. For the purification of beings. It does not say human beings. He is not just saying Buddhists. He is not just saying those who are moral. He says anyone who can get this message and practice, I will take the job of purifying you. And he has taken the job and he has given us the tool to do it. That tool is not just mindfulness. He said, keep the mindfulness to the fore. So I'm going to therefore talk a bit more further about keeping the mindfulness to the fore. We were practicing mindful walking and mindful sitting. So when you keep the mindfulness to the fore, what you do is, we have asked you to observe how the leg is placed. When you place the leg, what you first do is you place your heel first, and then the edge of the arch, and then the pillow, and then the fingers, right? So what happens there? If you see all these things, you are mindful at each and every step. You are mindful the entire process of placing. So when that happens, your mindfulness is continuing. Each and every time your mindfulness is kept to the fore. And not only that, once you keep, since it is kept to the fore, when you are lifting also you feel it. When you are lifting, you know how it is being lifted. Again, the heel is lifted first, and then the arch area, and then the pillow, and then the toes. And when you keep on observing this continuously, because the mindfulness is to the fore, you see it is not only lifting and placing, the walking is also having a moving part. After lifting, the leg is moving. So you observe the moving part as well. So when the mindfulness is kept to the fore, you get more and more details. So attention keeps continuing, right? So it is not only that, when your attention is on the soul like that, and someone had written, he or she observed the what joint is bending first and what other joints are getting the support from. So you start observing more information, and someone had written how the muscles are felt as well. So you take the attention to the sole of the feet only. But since you keep the mindfulness to the fore, you start getting more and more information, and your attention keep going further and further and further into the body from the sole of the feet. And there are some people, when you place the heel on the floor, the Bhante was saying that is the power line. And some people will be able to observe the vibration that gives from the heel to the head. When you just place the heel, you are not just very slowly placing it. When you just bringing it down, the gravity pulls it down. If you very closely observe, before you place it, it is being pulled. So once it is being pulled, they will have big hit on the ground. And then that gives a vibration. And if you are mindful, if you keep the mindfulness to the fore, you may be able to observe that vibration as well. I'm not expecting that all of you to observe that, but these are possibilities. What I'm trying to tell you is that when you keep the mindfulness to the fore, the extent to which your attention goes in. So when you keep on observing one leg like that, even yesterday we mentioned, and in the discussion also I took that, you start seeing not only one leg, the other leg is also working. And somebody had written in the report today, he or she felt like a wheel, because when we are walking, it is like a wheel. Our leg is acting as the spoke of a wheel, and it takes the entire weight of the body onto that spoke, onto that power line, onto that bone, and you may start feeling all that. So when you come to the body in this manner, sometimes you may be walking like a zombie. You simply feel someone is walking, someone is moving. And sometimes you may feel only your heart. Sometimes you may feel only your head. Sometimes you may feel only your tummy. Sometimes you may feel only the lower part. So some of the other parts you may not feel. Why do you get all these things? Because you keep your attention to the fore. And similarly, when you observe your breath, the same thing happens. Initially, when you start sitting, you know you will not be able to bring the attention to the breath. Your mind will be all over the place. But after some time, you don't worry about it. You just keep observing. When you keep observing, what happens is it's like the buffalo that is brought from the wild to the village. I think I have mentioned that. Did I mention that yesterday? What happens is, I don't know whether it's happening now. It may be happening even now. Usually farmers bring wild buffaloes and tame them and use them in the paddy fields. So as soon as they bring from the wild, you can't put them into the paddy field. You'll have to train them. To train them, what they do is, once the buffalo is brought, tie them into a very strong tree or to a post. And what does the buffalo do? It will be trying its level best to break the rope and then get back to the wild. Right? But he keeps trying. Finally, he won't be able to do that. He will simply sit down at the foot of the tree and sleep. That's very same thing is happening to our mind as well. When we sit, our mind is also like a wild buffalo. It will be thinking about billions of things. Attention will be going all over the place. but you just quietly keep sitting without getting agitated. So since you are not doing anything, the mind is losing its grip. The mind was something to be active, something to be upon. So finally, therefore, mind will come to your breath, because that is what you are doing automatically, naturally. So it will come to the breath. You will be able to observe the breath. So when the mind comes to the breath in this manner, the initial breaths that you see may be gross, may be long. You will not immediately see that. Immediately you will say, okay, I'm observing a breath. You will keep observing that breath, in-breath and out-breath. But after some time, you feel that it gradually becomes shallow. And then it becomes subtler. It will become even subtle. And it will go to the subtlest. Right? So over time, you may see these things. So when you see these things, this is why we are asking you to write what happens to your breath over time. When I'm 100% sure that those things are happening to you when I see the way you guys are sitting, but no one is writing. You think you have lost the breath and there is nothing to write in it. You think that breath must be there all the time and they should have some detail. But this is also an information. This is also a detail. When you keep observing, it gradually disappears. So that happens. You will be able to be aware of that since you are awake. If you are not awake, you will not know that. And some people had written, you felt even sleepy when these things are happening, right? So in this manner, when you keep the mindfulness to the fore, you start going into deeper layers of what you're observing. And the funny thing is, when the object becomes subtler, what happens to your mindfulness? Mindfulness becomes sharper. To have your attention to a subtler object, you can't have a blunt mindfulness. You will have to have a very, very sharp mindfulness. When your mindfulness is sharp, you will be able to observe the subtle object. So the object you are observing is breath. Where is the breath going to? Your breath is in your body, in and out. So with the sharp mindfulness, with the breath, where is the mind going to? Mind is going to your body. So when the mind goes to your body, you may start feeling your body in many ways. In many ways. Someone had written today, he or she was feeling vibrations. Why you feel vibrations? Yes. Why you feel vibration? Yeah, you said something. Okay. All right. You feel vibrations because our body is vibrating all the time. Is our body vibrating all the time? We know from the day we were born, we were about this much and about 3 pounds, 3.5 pounds. Now, 60s, 70s, 6 foot, how many feet? 6'3". See, was he born like that? No. This vibration is happening all the time, right? So this vibration, we call it regeneration and degeneration. And that happens. When you take your mind to the body through the breath in this manner, you may feel that, and you may feel that like a vibration. So therefore, what I want to say is, since you keep the mindfulness to the fore, you may get into deeper layers of the body. So this happens since you are keeping mindfulness to the fore. And when you keep on observing that continuously, again, as I said in walking, when you have vibrations in your body, for the body to have vibrations, there should have some space in the body. If there is no space in the body, can the vibration take place? No, vibrations won't take place. So when your attention becomes sharper and sharper and sharper, your attention will go to this space in the body, you will not feel the vibration after that. You may feel some emptiness, some space only, right? So like that, we never thought when we observe our in-breath and out-breath, it will take us to that extent. Since you have been in Satipasala for 5 years and the lowest I heard was 3 years. So you have been practicing for quite some time. So some of you may have had glimpses of these experiences. And in the past, I have heard such reports. I'm not, in Satipasala, we are not going into this detail when we explain, because there are a lot of small kids and kids. But even here, I didn't want to go to this detail. But Loko Hamdru has already gone. So why not? And I just thought of getting into the real stuff. So that is why I'm talking these things here. And of course, there were reports like that. So keeping the mindfulness in this manner, when the mindfulness is continuing this way, Blessed One has given a name for it. He says not just sati, he calls it sampajanya. The English term for that is clear comprehension. Or some translations are calling it full awareness. I like that word. Clear comprehension does not give any sense with choiceless awareness. But when you say full awareness, and now your awareness is becoming wider, right? So you start seeing more and more things, deeper and deeper things that you have never thought of. Aren't we going to the cosmos now? This is how, through the body, we are going to the vibrations and we are going beyond vibrations. Right? So this is why the Blessed One, this is just the beginning again. And there are more details if you go even beyond emptiness. So in this manner, we can go to cosmos. And when you really take your attention to the body, when you may have, a lot of people were talking about pain. And those pains, you may be feeling them as, burning. You may be feeling them as tingling sensations. And some may be scraping and various types of sensations. So these sensations are things available in the universe. The heat is something which is available in the universe. And that is what you feel in the pain, right? So this is how we go to the cosmos. So when you keep the mindfulness to the fore, when the mindfulness is continuing in this manner, we call it sati sampajanya, or the clear comprehension, or the full awareness. And the Blessed One has asked us to practice in a way that the full awareness will be developed. And that is why, other than mindful walking and mindful sitting, how many other types of mindfulness have we discussed in Satipasala? We have discussed about mindful eating. We have discussed about mindful showering. We have discussed about, what else? Mindful brushing. We have discussed about mindful exercises once or twice. And you can be mindful when you do anything. Even in the toilet, you can be mindful. You can keep the attention to the body, right? So just because it is Buddha is so sacred, and that can be used only when you do good things, there is nothing as such. And yesterday I gave the example of the person who was addicted to alcohol, and I asked him to take alcohol mindfully, and he became a good person. So it was a bad thing, but he was able to be mindful about it and come out of it. So therefore, so far as mindfulness is concerned, there is no religion. It has simply the humanity. Anything that a human does can be done mindfully. So therefore, Blessed One says, not only while walking and sitting, you can be mindful while standing. How do you become mindful while standing? Yeah. How do you bring your attention to the body while standing? You place your attention to the sole of the feet. Suppose you are waiting for your parent to come and pick you, and you're so nervous. He hasn't come. Everyone is going, and I'm just alone. My friend also just left. So instead of being annoyed about it, when you are standing, take your attention to the sole of the feet. See how you feel it. So while standing, you can be mindful. And at the same time, Blessed One says, you can be mindful while sleeping until you really fall asleep. When you lie on the bed, there will have some contact, some part of your body getting in touch with the mattress, and then you can be mindful of that touch. So whenever we become mindful, we take our attention to a contact point, to a touch point. While breathing, we took the touch point either at the nostrils or the chest or the tummy. While walking, the sole of the feet. And while standing, again, the soles of the feet. And then while sleeping, also we take the touch points and bring our attention there. Or some people can even feel the breath. So in this manner, we continue to have the mindfulness to the fore. When you continue to have the mindfulness into the fore, with the same object as I explained in breathing and as I explained in sitting, breathing and walking, you can go into deeper layers of those. And at the same time, when you change what you do, still you can continue mindfulness. Look what Amdru says, diversification of mindfulness. Right? So in that manner, you take the width of mindfulness. Anything you can be mindful of. In the same object, if you become mindful and go to subtler layers, it gives the depth of mindfulness. Right? So when you keep the mindfulness to the fore, not only you dice, you even slice it. In that manner, you break the time to the tiniest particle possible. And the Luguhamdru used to say, it is thin slicing of time. Not only thin slicing of time, when you get closer and closer, it becomes thin slicing of space as well at the same time. That is why you sometimes may not feel your body. That is why you go to vibrations. That is why you go to emptiness. Since you thin slice time as well as space. Okay, so not only that, when you keep the mindfulness to the fore, the Blessed One says, when you turn your neck to see something, you can be mindful of the neck turning, the muscles. And when you stretch your arms, you can be mindful of the stretching of the arms and then folding it back. All these are things happening in the body. So anything that happens in the body, you can be mindful. So when you become mindful to your body in this manner, especially when you feel sensation, and if you continue to feel those sensations, when you feel your sensation of the sole of the feet, you simply say, I feel the sensation of the sole of the feet. That's the end of the story. But if you keep the mindfulness to the fore and see to what extent of the sole of the feet you feel it, you bring your attention a bit more inside. It is not just on the surface of the foot. That may get absorbed into your flesh. So if you are very close, when you feel the heat, you may feel the heat inside. And when the attention comes inside, a lot more things will start coming. So in this manner, if you keep the mindfulness to the fore, when your attention comes to the body, what do you have in your body? I know most of you had written because we did 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I'm sure 90% of the participants have not sat such a long time, not sat for 45 minutes. So that gives you pain everywhere, not just the knee. You will have pain everywhere. What does that mean, having that pain? It means that your attention is 100% in the body. So when your attention is in the body, All what you feel is the pain. What is pain, by the way? There is some sensation in the body, and our hatred towards it is the pain. Right? There is some heat, there is some cold, there is some holding nature, there is some sucking nature, there is some cohesive nature in the body. So when you feel those things, for some sensations you will like, for some sensations you will not like. So when you don't like, it gives you an unpleasant feeling. When you like it, you will have a pleasant feeling. Sometimes when you have vibration, some people don't like it, and it becomes unpleasant feeling for them. Some people like it, they keep enjoying it. So what I want to say here is a very important point. When the attention is in your body, when you talk about a pain, especially the unpleasant sensation, now it is opening the door of your mind. All this time, your mind door had not been opened. You were just observing the body only. Now, when you have a pain, the mind is talking and mind is telling, I don't like this. But the mind is telling, I'm liking it. So therefore, from the body, now through the feelings, you gradually go into the mind. This is the path that the Buddha has developed for us to get into the mind. And someone had asked a question, we are observing the mind. I wanted to grab the mic from the Bante and say, no, we are not observing the mind. We observe the body. When we observe the body, mind gets opened. We are not observing the mind. Until such time it opens itself for us. For that to happen, the Buddha says, keep the mindfulness to the fore. Let it continue. When it continues, when your attention comes to the body, pain will appear. Pain appears means you are putting your, not just pain, feeling will appear. You are putting your 2 cents into it. That is liking or disliking. That liking and disliking is the mind. When that happens, then you observe that. Still, you don't know that you're observing the mind. You're observing that pain. And if you observe that pain with the expectation that it should vanish now, it should vanish as quickly as possible, then you are adding fuel to fire. Because the pain is there, unpleasant feeling is there because you hate the situation. And if you have an expectation to get it over, to finish it, to get rid of it, you are adding more hatred towards it. Instead, when you observe pain, you will have to observe with a smile. You will have to observe that because it is you, because it is now, because it is here. That mindfulness is observation of here, now, I am. So unless you observe that pain with a smile, what you simply do is you are hating yourself in that particular point in time. You don't know. And that is what is happening to us all the time. My hair is too short and you do something. My hair is too long, you do something. I'm not asking you not to comb your hair, but do that. But that our hatred has been commercialized. See how many salons that you have. How many things are there? That is because we don't like what we have. So if you start accepting yourself, you start loving yourself first. So when you don't love yourself, don't expect anybody else to love you. So it's a very good point to learn loving you when you have pain. When you start loving you with the pain, then you develop a tremendous amount of personality that you don't find in any of the universities. You can't buy it from anywhere. Nobody will teach it. For them, they are teaching mindfulness. For them, It is just a technique. They say, observe your breath, that is mindfulness. That is, I don't want to say the word that is coming to my mouth. You put your own word for it. That's utter nonsense. Right? So therefore, when you keep the mindfulness to the fore in this manner, we can go from the body to the mind. And when you keep on observing that, some people had written today, 3 or 4 people, if not more, that they were feeling sleepy. Why do you feel sleepy? Now, this is a time that you have either to hate or like, either to like or dislike. If you like or dislike, you will never feel sleepy. There is something for you to enjoy if you like it. If you dislike, there is something to have a war against. So you will never feel sleepy. But when you continue your observation, and if you are disliking subsides, and if you are liking subsides, what is the net result? No liking, no disliking means you become more and more lethargic. You become more and more sleepy. You become more and more bored. That is very evident now, isn't it? That is very evident when you practice and when you listen to a talk. It is not only in practice. When you listen to a talk like this, you fall asleep. And my sermon is good if all of you are sleeping. Because it is not giving anything to energize you. It is not giving anything to agitate you. So therefore you should sleep. So start snoring now. So like that in our practice as well, when there is nothing to enjoy or nothing to fight with, naturally you get sleepiness. So that sleepiness, Blessed One says, is the gateway, is the opening for the wisdom. Did we ever think that? That is opening up the black hole that we have not seen. That's just the beginning of the black hole. This is why the Blessed One says this is a cosmos. So you take attention there. And when you go through the physicality, and when you enter and when you go through the mentality, then you are going beyond what people can think of. When there is no matter, then you get into this. Right? So the sleepiness is an opening for it, is the beginning for it. So what you will have to do is, when that happens, keep observing, continue the same thing. And when the sleepiness is progressing or not progressing, when the sleepiness is continuously happening, then you change your object. Next time when you sit, you start in the normal manner and then have an eye about the sleepiness that is going to come. You try to be mindful of the sleepiness. If you can be mindful of the sleepiness, or if you can know when you fall asleep, that is when you are really awake. Awakening means that. Not when you wake up in the morning. If you can wake up into the sleepiness or sleepy situation, then you become awake. That is why the Blessed One is called Awakened One. It is not grammatical, I know. You can't awake into sleep. It is not practical, I know. So far as you think it is not practical, but it is possible. Very much possible when you practice. When you go beyond physical process, when you go beyond mental process, this will start opening up. Then you can be prepared. Bhante asked whether you have done scouting or Girls Guide. And there the motto is, be prepared. All the time. Be prepared means keep the mindfulness to the fore. Anytime, whatever happens, we just keep observing, keep observing, keep observing. Things are very subtle. Things are happening very fast. Doesn't matter. You simply keep observing. So when that happens, this process is called not just mindfulness, continuation of mindfulness. Continuation of mindfulness in this manner is called clear comprehension or full awareness. So when you have this clear comprehension and full awareness in this manner for your feelings, it may be pleasurable feelings, it may be unpleasurable feelings, it may be feelings where you feel sleepy, no pleasure, no unpleasure or displeasure, whatever you call it, right? When you open up into that, then you really open up into your mental process, the mind. The pain is just the gateway to the mind, right? Because you liking and disliking is what you put from the mind. But when you go through this pain, it will open up your mind. What do you have in your mind? The things that have been supporting the pain. Things that have been supporting your pain is your sense pleasure and the agitation. You start seeing a huge stock of sense pleasure coming up. You may start seeing huge stock of agitations coming up. So many thoughts. One day, a friend of mine who is in New Zealand, who is practicing, and he's a Catholic as well, and called me and said, Bhante, I never thought that I'm such a bad person. On one hand, I see myself as a murderer. He's getting all these thoughts. And the other side, I'm not going to tell you. He says, he's getting all these thoughts. He says, I don't know where these were. So when that happens to you, when your thought process is so aggravated and you feel that you have become worse after practicing, that means you are gradually entering into your mental realm. When you enter into the mental realm, that ensures that you have gone through the body, gone through the pain. When those things are coming up, the thoughts, although you feel they overwhelm you and put you down and pin you down and keep punching, what is the lifespan of a thought? The shortest thing in the universe is the thought. So we give so much of credit to it. We make it so big. And then it keeps us punching. If you just observe when thoughts are coming, they won't last long. And most of you had written, I was distracted by thoughts and I observed it. I brought my mind back. That word is wrong. Again, I wanted to comment, but I just kept quiet. Not that you brought your mind back. Once you observe the thought, mind comes back. That is because the thoughts are not having a long lifespan. The quantification of a life of a thought is, compared to the physical process, is 1/17. Don't ask me how I calculated it. That's what is in the book. I have never tested it, but I believe it. You can see you yourself when you observe, so many thoughts are coming, and we don't know where it is coming from. That is because that's coming so fast, because they don't last long. And if you become vulnerable to it, then when you go and see a doctor, they will give some pills and take your money. But instead, if you can observe it, it will not be there for long. So in this manner, what I want to tell you is, you keep the mindfulness to the fore, that let you to continue the mindfulness. And when you continue your mindfulness, we call it clear comprehension or the full awareness. So for that, the Blessed One laid the foundation. Laying the foundation, he says, keep the body as your focal point and keep the awareness to the fore. That is the Dhamma. So far as I am concerned, Buddha's entire teaching in those 4 words. Keep the mindfulness to the fore, having the body as the focal point. Because this is the universe. And if you keep the mindfulness to the fore, you can dig into the fullest. Hope I have added something to your Satipasala mindfulness seed that we have planted so many years ago. And it may have given some glimpse of wisdom, glimpse of extension to what you know, and hope that this talk made some sense. And if not, we are more than happy to discuss this in our discussion session tomorrow. Please do raise your questions. Please do ask questions, things that you don't understand regarding this, anything that comes to your mind, so that we can make it more clearer. And then we will be able to give more information, more clarity to what I just discussed. So thank you very much for listening. Blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. All right. So we can conclude the day's session, and you can go for your rest from now on. Teruvan Sarana. We will try to incorporate some mindful games tomorrow and different type of discussion as well. And with that, thank you so much for listening. Teruvan Sarana.